Welcome to the channel NextGen Tech Prep. In today's video, we are diving deep into essential questions and comprehensive answers for the Microsoft Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate certification. Whether you're preparing for an exam or just looking to sharpen your knowledge, you're in the right place. If you find this content valuable, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's get started.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. You have the following T-SQL statement. For each of the following statements, select Yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select No. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are Statement 1, yes, Statement 2, no, Statement 3, no. Why are these options correct? Because Statement 1, yes, the query does not filter out refunded items in the where clause, meaning their region values are still processed and returned. Statement 2, no, the query filters by transaction date but does not include it in the select clause, so the column is not returned. Statement 3, no, the case statement specifically adds 0 instead of the sales amount when the refund status is refunded. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because Statement 1, no, incorrect because refunded items are not excluded from the result set, so their region values remain present in the output. Statement 2, yes, incorrect because the transaction date column is used only for filtering and is omitted from the select statement, meaning it is not returned. Statement 3, yes, incorrect because the case statement explicitly prevents the aggregation of sales amount for refunded items by substituting a value of 0.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. You have a Fabric warehouse that contains the following data. The data has the following characteristics. Each customer is assigned a unique customer ID value. Each customer is associated to a single sales region value. Each customer is associated to a single customer address value. The customer table contains 5 million rows. All foreign key values are non-null. You need to create a view to denormalize the data into a customer dimension that contains one row per distinct customer ID value. The solution must minimize query processing time and resources. How should you complete the T-SQL statement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are drop-down 1, inner join, drop-down 2, a.address ID equals ca.address ID. Why are these options correct? Because drop-down 1, inner join, the requirements state that all foreign key values are non-null. Because every customer is guaranteed to have a corresponding sales region value, an inner join is the most appropriate and efficient choice to minimize query processing time. Drop-down 2, a.address ID equals ca.address ID, the customer address table acts as a bridge between the customer and address tables. Since customer address, ca, is already joined to customer, c, using customer ID, the correct way to bring in the address, a, table is by joining it to the bridge table, ca, on address ID. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because full outer join / left outer join, while a left outer join would return the correct results, since FKs are non-null, an inner join is preferred when performance is the priority and referential integrity guarantees a match. Full outer join is entirely unnecessary and would degrade performance. C.address ID equals ca.address ID, the customer table does not have an address ID column, customer address is the bridge table. C.customer ID equals a.customer ID, the address table does not have a customer ID column, it's linked via the customer address bridge table.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. You have a Fabric tenant that contains a workspace named Workspace 1. Workspace 1 uses the Pro license mode and contains a semantic model named Model 1. You have an Azure DevOps organization. You need to enable version control for Workspace 1. The solution must ensure that Model 1 is added to the repository. Which 3 actions should you perform in sequence? To answer, move the appropriate actions from the list of actions to the answer area and arrange them in the correct order. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are Step 1, assign Workspace 1 to a Fabric capacity, Step 2, connect Workspace 1 to a Git provider, Step 3, sync Workspace 1 with the repository. Why are these options correct? Because Step 1, assign Workspace 1 to a Fabric capacity, Fabric Git integration is only supported for workspaces backed by a premium or Fabric capacity. Since Workspace 1 currently uses the Pro license mode, it must be upgraded first. Step 2, connect Workspace 1 to a Git provider. Once the workspace has the correct capacity, you can configure its settings to connect to the Azure DevOps repository. Step 3, sync Workspace 1 with the repository. After connecting, you must perform a sync commit to push the existing items in the workspace, like Model 1, into the newly connected Git repository. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because configure branch policies in Azure DevOps, while a good practice, this is not required to simply enable version control and add the model to the repository. Create a deployment pipeline. Deployment pipelines are used to move content between lifecycle stages, e.g., dev, test, prod, and are not required to enable Git version control.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. You have a Fabric tenant that contains a workspace named Enterprise. Enterprise contains a semantic model named Model 1. Model 1 contains a date parameter named Date1 that was created in Power Query. You build a deployment pipeline named Enterprise Data that includes 2 stages named Development and Test. You assign the Enterprise workspace to the development stage. You need to perform the following actions: create a workspace named Enterprise, Test, and assign the workspace to the test stage. Configure a rule that will modify the value of Date1 when changes are deployed to the test stage. Which 2 settings should you use? To answer, select the appropriate settings in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are Setting 1, the green circular button with the plus icon, deploy to this stage. Setting 2, the deployment rules icon, the third icon on the top right of the test stage box. Why are these options correct? Because Setting 1, the green circular button with the plus icon, clicking this button when no workspace is assigned will automatically create a new workspace with the default suffix, in this case, test, and deploy the content from the previous stage into it. Setting 2, the deployment rules icon, located at the top right of the test stage box. This icon allows you to configure deployment rules. These rules can be used to modify data source connections or parameter values, like the Date1 parameter, specifically for the test stage.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to Next for questions. You have 2 Microsoft Power BI queries named Employee and Retired Roles. You need to merge the Employee query with the Retired Roles query. The solution must ensure that duplicate rows in each query are removed. Which column and join kind should you use in Power Query Editor? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are columns to select an employee query, role, 1, and division, 2, join kind, left anti, rows only and first. Why are these options correct? Because columns to select role, 1, and division, 2 in the Power Query Merge dialog, you must select the columns in the exact same order for both tables. Since the retired roles query shows role as 1 and division as 2, you must click role first and then division in the employee query. Join kind left anti, to remove the retired roles from the employee query, which is the typical intent of filtering a table based on a list of excluded items, you use a left anti-join. This join kind returns only the rows from the first table, employee, that do not have a matching row in the second table, retired roles. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because other join kinds, inner join would only return employees with retired roles. Full outer would combine them without removing the retired roles. Left outer would keep everything from the first table, requiring an extra filtering step.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a Fabric tenant that contains a workspace named Workspace 1 and a user named DP-600. Workspace 1 contains a lakehouse named Lakehouse 1. DP-600 does not have access to the tenant. You grant DP-600 access to Lakehouse 1 as shown in the following exhibit. Use the drop-down menus to select the answer choice that completes each statement based on the information presented in the graphic. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are drop-down 1, One Lake Endpoint, drop-down 2, One Lake File Explorer. Why are these options correct? Because drop-down 1, One Lake Endpoint, the Read All Apache Spark permission grants the user the ability to read the underlying files directly from the Lakehouse via the One Lake endpoint. Drop-down 2, One Lake File Explorer, because the user has access to the One Lake endpoint, due to the Read All Apache Spark permission, they can browse and access the data using the One Lake File Explorer. They cannot use SSMS because the Read All SQL endpoint data permission was not checked. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because tabular data stream, TDS, endpoint/SSMS, these would require the Read All SQL endpoint data permission, which is left unchecked. A KQL query set. KQL query sets are generally used for KQL databases, event houses, not for standard lakehouses with just Spark read access.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a Fabric workspace named Workspace 1. You have 3 groups named Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. You need to assign a workspace role to each group. The solution must follow the principle of least privilege and meet the following requirements. Group 1 must be able to write data to Workspace 1, but be unable to add members to Workspace 1. Group 2 must be able to configure and maintain the settings of Workspace 1. Group 3 must be able to write data and add members to Workspace 1, but be unable to delete Workspace 1. Which workspace role should you assign to each group? To answer, drag the appropriate roles to the correct groups. Each role may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are Group 1, Contributor, Group 2, Admin, Group 3, Member. Why are these options correct? Because Group 1, Contributor, the contributor role allows users to create, edit, and delete content within the workspace, write data, but they cannot add new users or change user permissions. Group 2, Admin, the admin role is required to configure and maintain workspace settings, like capacity assignments, and has full control over the workspace. Group 3 Member. The member role allows users to create and edit content, write data, and add other users, with member, contributor, or viewer roles. However, unlike admins, members cannot delete the workspace itself. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because the viewer role can only read data and cannot write data, configure settings, or add members, making it unsuitable for any of the groups.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a fabric warehouse that contains a table named Table 1. Table 1 contains the following data. You need to create a T-SQL statement that meets the following requirements, outputs the item name of each item and returns a null value if the item name is longer than 20 characters, outputs the purchase date value in the format of DD. How should you complete the statement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are drop-down 1, try_cast, item_name as varchar, 20, drop-down 2, convert, varchar, purchase_date, 7. Why are these options correct? Because drop-down 1, try_cast, item_name as varchar, 20, the requirement specifies returning a null value if the item name is longer than 20 characters. While standard cast/convert typically truncates strings, try_cast is designed to return null when a conversion is deemed to fail, fulfilling the error handling requirement for this scenario. Drop-down 2, convert, varchar, purchase_date, 7 in T-SQL, style 7 for the convert function formats a datetime value as mondd, yy, e.g., January 1st, 24, which matches the required format of mmmdd, yy. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because drop-down 1, convert, varchar, 20, item_name. This will simply truncate the string to 20 characters without returning null. Drop-down 2, convert, varchar, purchase_date, 109/112, style 109 returns a detailed format with time, mondd yyyhh me ssmmam, and style 112 returns an unseparated format, yyymmdd.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a fabric warehouse named Warehouse 1 that contains a table named DBO. Product. DBO. Product contains the following columns. You need to use a T-SQL query to add a column named Price Range to DBO. Product. The column must categorize each product based on unit price. The solution must meet the following requirements. If unit price is 0, price range is not for resale. If unit price is less than 50, price range is under $50. If unit price is between 50 and 250, price range is under $250. In all other instances, price range is $250 plus. How should you complete the query? To answer, drag the appropriate values to the correct targets. Each value may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are Box 1, Case, Box 2, Else, Box 3, E and D. Why are these options correct? Because Box 1, Case, the T-SQL case expression is used to evaluate a list of conditions and return one of multiple possible result expressions. It starts with the keyword case. Box 2, Else, The else clause in a case expression defines the default value to return if no when conditions evaluate to true, handling the in all other instances requirement. Box 3 E and D. Every case expression must be closed with the E and D keyword. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because begin / while / if, these are control of flow keywords and are not used within the standard structure of a select column expression for conditional logic in this matter.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a fabric workspace that contains a warehouse named Warehouse 1. Warehouse 1 contains the following data. You need to create a T-SQL statement that will denormalize the tables and include the contract type and start date attributes in the results. The solution must meet the following requirements: include attributes from matching rows in the contract table, ensure that all the rows from the employee table are preserved. Return the total number of employees per contract type for all the contract types that have more than 2 employees. How should you complete the statement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are drop-down 1, left outer join, drop-down 2, having. Why are these options correct? Because drop-down 1, left outer join, the requirement is to ensure that all the rows from the employee table are preserved. Since employee is the first, left, table in the from clause, a left outer join guarantees that all its rows are included in the result, even if there are no matching rows in the contract table. Drop-down 2, having. The requirement specifies filtering the results to only include contract types with more than 2 employees, count, distinct employee ID, 2. Because this condition applies to an aggregated value after a group by operation, the having clause must be used instead of where. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because drop-down 1, inner join, this would eliminate employees without a contract. Drop-down 1, right outer join, this would preserve all contracts, not all employees. Drop-down 2, where, the where clause filters individual rows before aggregation, so it cannot be used with aggregate functions like count.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a KQL database that contains a table named readings. You need to query readings and return the results shown in the following table. How should you complete the query? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are drop-down 1, extend, drop-down 2, project. Why are these options correct? Because drop-down 1, extend, in Custo query language, KQL, the extend operator is used to create calculated columns and append them to the existing result set. Here, it creates prevmeter reading and prevdatetime using the previous window function. Drop-down 2, project. The project operator is used to select which columns to include in the final output, and in what order. In this query, it specifies the exact columns to return, matching the required output table. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because evaluate / lookup / summarize, these operators are used for different purposes, plugins, joins, aggregations, and do not fit the syntax for simply adding calculated columns or selecting specific columns to display.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a Fabric workspace that contains a warehouse named DW1. DW1 contains the following tables and columns. You need to summarize order quantities by year and product. The solution must include the yearly sum of order quantities for all the products in each row. How should you complete the T-SQL statement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are drop-down 1, year, drop-down 2, grouping sets, year, so.modify date, p.name, year, so.modify date. Why are these options correct? Because drop-down 1, year, the requirement is to summarize order quantities by year, so the year function is needed to extract the year from the modified date. Drop-down 2, grouping sets, the question specifically asks for two levels of aggregation, by year and product, year, so.modify date, p.name, and the yearly sum for all products, year, so.modify date. Grouping sets allows you to specify exactly these two groupings without adding an unrequested grand total. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because drop-down 1, cast/convert, these would not extract just the year as an integer without additional formatting or logic. Drop-down 2, rollup, while rollup would provide the required subtotals, it would also provide a grand total across all years, which was not requested. Drop-down 2, cube would provide the required subtotals, a grand total, and a subtotal by product across all years, which is way more than requested. Drop-down 2, year, p.name, this would only provide the base grouping without the required yearly sum subtotal.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You are creating a report and a semantic model in Microsoft Power BI Desktop. The value measure has the expression shown in the following exhibit. Use the drop-down menus to select the answer choice that completes each statement based on the information presented in the graphic. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are drop-down 1, dynamic format string, drop-down 2, percentages or whole numbers. Why are these options correct? Because drop-down 1, dynamic format string, the exhibit shows that the format property in the ribbon is set to dynamic, and a DAX expression, switch statement, is being used to determine the format string dynamically based on the selected metric. Drop-down 2, percentages or whole numbers, the DAX expression returns three possible format strings, hashtag, whole number, 0%, percentage, and hashtag, hashtag, whole number with 1,000 separators. Thus, the measure returns either percentages or whole numbers depending on the context. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because a calculation group is created in the model view or tabular editor and applies to multiple measures, not by setting the format property of a single measure to dynamic. Percentages or decimals, there is no decimal format without a percentage sign provided in the format string.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a fabric lakehouse named Lakehouse 1. You have the data sources shown in the following table. You need to ingest data from both data sources into Lakehouse 1. The solution must minimize maintenance and development time. What should you use to ingest the data into each data source? To answer, drag the appropriate options to the correct data sources. Each option may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are data source 1, a pipeline with a copy activity, data source 2, an event stream. Why are these options correct? Because data source 1, a pipeline with a copy activity, for large-scale data ingestion, such as 20 GB daily loads, from relational databases like Azure SQL Managed Instance, a data factory pipeline with a copy activity is highly optimized for throughput and requires minimal development effort, no code. Data source 2, an event stream, for data streaming into an Azure Event Hub, Fabric's Event Stream feature provides a native, low-code/no-code way to capture that streaming data and route it directly into a lakehouse, minimizing maintenance compared to writing custom Spark structured streaming notebooks. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because a notebook, writing custom code in a notebook for streaming or batch ingestion increases development and maintenance time compared to the out-of-the-box UI experiences. A Dataflow Gen 1/Gen 2, while Dataflow Gen 2 can ingest data, it is more suited for complex Power Query transformations and typically handles smaller to medium data volumes less efficiently than a dedicated copy activity for pure data movement at scale, 20 GB.
Pause the screen to understand the image and move to next for questions. You have a Fabric workspace named Workspace 1 that uses the Premium Per User (PPU) license mode and contains a semantic model named Model 1. Large semantic model storage format is selected for Model 1. You need to ensure that tables imported into Model 1 are written automatically to Delta tables in OneLake. What should you do for Model 1 and Workspace 1? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Pause the video, choose your answer from the drop-down, and let's review the explanation.
The correct options are Model 1, enable OneLake integration, Workspace 1, change the license mode to Fabric capacity. Why are these options correct? Because Model 1, enable OneLake integration, this is the specific setting on the semantic model, when large dataset storage format is enabled, that automatically exports the imported data to Delta tables in OneLake. Workspace 1, change the license mode to Fabric capacity. OneLake integration for semantic models is not supported on Premium Per User (PPU) workspaces. The workspace must be backed by a Fabric capacity or Power BI Premium capacity. Why are the other answers incorrect? Because enable query caching/scale out, these are performance features for semantic models and do not write data to OneLake. Create a workspace identity/SAS tokens, these relate to authentication and security, not to enabling OneLake export for semantic models.